Last time, on Fourth Wing, Violet was really upset for killing homicidal Jack, even though she is a soldier in training, but she got over it. Xaden was even more turned on now that she has murder powers. Xaden and Violet had the world's loudest sex and broke all of her furniture. It turned out that Xaden was in charge of every single rebel kid for some reason. Violet went to a big party where Liam was a good friend and Xaden hid away because his pain is worse than everyone else's. Xaden was a very sad boy, but then they had lots of sex about it. Finally, there was an attack on the capital and psych, it's just another training exercise. And after yet another Violet/Xaden makeout scene, some Griffin riders finally showed up so the plot could happen in the last 50 or so pages.
Hi, hello. I'm a dragon rider. Can you guess which one? Okay, so my hair aggressively refuses to be pink, so I went with red, and I just dyed it, which is why it's still wet. But I wanted to get this finally filmed, so let's go. Darkened it up in here a little bit to try and get some of the reflection off my glasses. If I'm gonna have any light in this room, there is gonna be reflection on my glasses. I'm sorry, but I also need to wear my glasses to read, and I have too many sensory issues to put contacts in my eyes. Do you think that a person who cannot handle their own hair touching them is gonna be able to put contacts in their eyes? No, friends. But anyway, yes, that's right. I am the best dragon rider. Imogen with her pink hair. Let's get reading for our thrilling conclusion. Chapter 35. In the last days of interrogation, Fen Ryerson lost touch with reality, railing against the kingdom of Navarre. He accused King Tari and all who came before him of a conspiracy so vast, so unspeakable, that it does not bear repeating by this historian. The execution was swift and merciful for a madman who cost untold lives. Oh, well, that's obviously not true. Obviously, the leadership here is corrupt, and your first piece of evidence is that they run the world's stupidest dragon school. But let's go. Chapter 35. Xaden says that they don't have a full shipment. Not sure what they're shipping. Is it drugs? Is it dragon eggs? Whatever it was, they would have a full shipment by tomorrow, apparently. Also, the Griffin riders wear brown instead of black. That's an important distinction. They're not as cool as us dragon riders in our black leather. So it turns out the dragon riders are also having problems with the Venin, the evil wyvern riders. We just gotta have every kind of flying monster and people riding on it in this world. But of course, before this lady can go into any further detail, Xaden is like, don't say anything else. So the Griffin riders actually showed up to warn Xaden that Venin are in the area, and they're like, we could use your help, like, fighting them off, but we understand that you have the precious general's daughter with you, and she, meanwhile, is, like, threatening to sizzle them all with lightning, and I'm realizing that the only reason that we keep being reminded that her aim is bad with her lightning is so that we have an excuse for why she doesn't just kill these people immediately, because they are enemies. And so she's got the most powerful dragon and a really powerful magical ability, but we don't want her to actually use it. So the dragon, I don't know why he's not doing anything, but she is holding back on cooking them alive. Also, I didn't realize that it was a trope for the female lead character to end up with lightning powers, but I guess it's a thing. I recently watched someone else's video about the Red Queen book series, which I have not read and have no desire to read, and apparently the female lead in that also gets lightning powers, and now I suspect that lightning powers are like a really common one, which is interesting to me. In Adventurer Mage, my book, Valentine, one of the lead characters, his magic manifests as electricity and can get pretty powerful, so you could maybe call it like lightning magic. So does that mean that he's a special girl? The Griffin rider says, just signal if you can get away from the disbelievers, and immediately my frickin' millennial brain was like,
shun the non-believer! Shun!
We gotta mention Imogen's pink hair again. Oh my goodness, we had gone so long without mentioning that Imogen has pink hair, but she still does. Everyone, Imogen still has pink hair. She realizes for the first time that the group that she's in are all children of the rebels, and she's the only, like, non-rebel here. And I'm like, yeah, she was brought along because she's their leader's fuck buddy. Okay, so the dragon did know, which is why he's not incinerating everyone. And somehow, even though she can kind of read his thoughts, he kept it from her. She, of course, our main character, is having a full-blown existential crisis. Xaden's a traitor. He betrayed me. But even her dragon is sided with them. So, like, at that point, that's the moment where you go, now hang on. Why don't I listen to what they have to say for a minute before I decide that they are all horrible, horrible traitors and I have to cook them all with lightning. I'm sorry, but, like, I don't know how to make this scene hit the way that the author intends for it to hit. The main character just, like, crumbling because he betrayed her, he lied to her, she thought that he loved her. We've seen this scene a million times, but, like, especially here, it's just not hitting. And I think it's because we, the reader, know that obviously Xaden loves her. Obviously he does. Obviously he is going to turn out to be in the right, and the rebels are going to turn out to be, like, the smart ones. And the stupid Dragon Rider Society with all of its dumb rules are incorrect, although she never once thought of that with her very, very wise mind. But, like, this whole moment that we've seen a million times, to make it hit, because we are so familiar with moments like this in stories, I don't even know what to advise this author to do. She's like, maybe I should have realized his true nature when I found out that he is, like, a master of shadows. Like, I mean, he pretty much did broadcast it. But she's just feeling so super betrayed by everybody, and she's shoving people, and she's freaking the fuck out. And it's like, okay, this has never been her personality before, but sure. I thought she was supposed to be the smart, thoughtful one. After she stopped poisoning people, she really stopped being the smart, thoughtful one. She really stopped, at a certain point, ever trying to use her brain to get out of situations. She didn't even come up with the dragon saddle herself. So her cleverness really went out the window when she started being, like, the most powerful, when she got the most powerful dragon, when she got this super powerful magic. And so we stopped being a book that was trying to be about a girl who was smaller and weaker but was going to use her wits to succeed, to just your average standard YA heroine story. By the way, this is important, and a very important legal distinction here. Dragons have riders and griffins have flyers. It's different, even though the griffin riders ride on griffins. Such important world building information we're getting here. We find out what the shipments are. He's shipping them weapons. I don't think we're ever going to find out the logistics of that. Like, how are they getting the weapons? Who's making the weapons? How are they smuggling the weapons without being noticed? I don't think that matters. She's so shocked. It says, "My jaw unhinges," which I think is meant to mean that, like, she just gapes at him with her mouth open, but it sounds like she's about to eat him like a snake. She is starting to, like, settle down and maybe ask some questions, but he is like, the Venin are real. They sap magic from every land that they are in because they don't channel using a griffin or a dragon. Apparently griffins, like, are the same as dragons and help their flyers channel magic. But the Venin are evil and parasitic, and they pull magic out of the land and, like, strip it bare. The wards are so confusing because Xaden is like, the only thing that can defeat the Venin are the things that power our wards. What are those? I thought the dragons powered the wards, and maybe it is the dragons? And are the Venin seeking the dragons? Or are the wards, like, giant crystals that the dragons power? Like, it was never established what actually is generating the wards. Would have been nice if we had maybe seen that, like perhaps in that chapter where they went out to that one fortress and then it got attacked because the Griffin Riders, flyers, I'm going to call them Griffin Riders because that's dumb, riders were coming in to get, like, shield generators, essentially. So it would have been cool to see what one of those looks like. He gives her a dagger. Of course it's a dagger. Wouldn't be anything else except a dagger. That is made of the material that they make their wards from so that she could kill a Venin if she needs to. And the lack of world building around this crucial plot point is really bothering me. I didn't even know that there was a physical something that was powering the wards. I thought it was just the dragons. Now we're trying to build up Dane as the dangerous one. She's like, why didn't you ever tell me, to Xaden? And Xaden's like, because if Dane ever used his powers and found out, everything would be ruined, because Dane would do anything to protect you. Now they're having one of those moments where she's like, you lied to me about some things, and that means that you must have been lying to me about loving me, and therefore we are no longer in love. Ugh. Ripping the hearts out of all of the girlies who have never seen this exact thing play out before. And then they decide, all right, let's just carry on with our drill. Now that we have this information, we're just gonna keep going for this dragon riding drill, even though you'd think when she gets to where they're going, she would immediately tattle on them. We totally have just like this moment talking about like how easy it is to change history by just hiding the right books, which is fairly topical for this day and age. I don't know if the author completely intended it to speak to like the banning of books and stuff that's happening right now, but I could potentially see that. By the way, don't mind the noises in the background. Adam is making himself some lunch. But they get to the outpost, and of course it is completely empty. I don't know what their plan was when they got to the outpost, because there were supposed to be people there. So like if they got there and there were people there, were they just counting on Violet to not tell everyone that these people are traitors? All right, now we have the final big revelation of this chapter. It turns out that they were all sent here. This is a trap, obviously, because Dane read the main character's mind, and she knew a little bit about where Xaden had been like sneaking off to with his buddies sometimes, and so they set a trap. And the fortress is abandoned because it's a kill sack. So they just have to try to survive now, and yes, we are definitely setting up Dane as a villain at this point, because he read her mind without her permission, because all he has to do is touch her. So he read her mind while he was touching her one of those times, hug her or something, and so now she accidentally betrayed them, and we finally seem like we're going to have some action for our climax. There's so little book left, but I hope we do something exciting with this dragon book. We'll find out in the next chapter. And we're back. I had to empty the memory card anyway, so it was a good time for a break. I'm getting hungry, but I don't want to ruin my lipstick. This is a dilemma. Right, Nigel? Nigel is right here. Chapter 36. Let's see if we can get some action happening up in this bitch. For there, in the land beyond the shadows, were monsters that dwelled in the night and dined on the souls of children who wandered too close to the woods. The wyverns cry, fables of the Baron. So they have spotted incoming danger. We don't know quite what yet, but I believe it was Liam who has the ability to see really far, so his elf eyes have spotted some oncoming danger. They also got left a letter, a sort of haha, I guess, from, I don't know why they would do this if they were just planning to attack Xaden, but the letter says that this is a test of his command, and he has to choose, like Spider-Man, between, like, abandoning this village of our enemy, or abandoning the command of your wing. And Bodhi asks, what the hell does that mean? And I'm like, I agree, Bodhi, what the hell does that mean?
Make your choice, Spider-Man.
Okay, so if they leave this fortress and head to the next location in the war games, they will be allowed to just continue the war games. But if they stay here, I guess, there's a Griffin outpost nearby, I'm assuming, because this is a Dragon Rider outpost that they're in right now, that will be overrun by Venin, which implies that the dragon people, I don't know what to call them, because their nation has a weird name, the Empire, I'll call them the Empire. The Empire, previously thought to be the good guys, are in league with the Venin, potentially, because they know that a Venin attack is coming right here and now. But obviously, if Xaden and his people go to save the Griffin outpost, it will prove that they are traitors. Wow, Liam can see real fucking far, so we established that nobody else can really see what's happening, but Liam can see the eyeballs of the Venin. He can recognize them by the red veins spidering all around their eyes. Liam is looking down and reporting back this information, and it says, his eyes are wide, his pupils blown, as he uses his signet to see the bottom of the valley. His pupils blown? Like, I think that usually means that you've damaged your pupils. Is he, like, hurting himself? And if so, how can he still see? So the Venin are now attacking. There's, like, only a few Venin, but they're very powerful, so they don't need very many. Are now attacking the Griffin stronghold, which is within view, within modified view. So, like, potentially within a telescope's view of this previously dragon-occupied fortress, which seems sus to me. The main character helpfully supplies, she doesn't see any wyverns, and when everyone gives her a weird look, she's like, the fables say that Venin created them to compete with dragons, and instead of channeling from them, they channel power into them. There are some Griffin riders here now who have just showed up. The ones from the lake just came back. So the lady Griffin rider is like, there's 4 Venin down there, and it only took 2 of them to completely obliterate a fortress a little while ago. So whatever they want down there, they really want it, and they're gonna get it, so we don't stand a chance. Even dragon fire won't kill a Venin. I don't know, like, are they really durable? Like, can a dragon chew on one and they just won't die? Because apparently, like vampires, the only way to kill them is very specific weapons, and those weapons are the special daggers that Xaden just happened to have a spare one of to give to our main character. I feel like, once again, that we really should explore bow technology, because we could spend a lot less of this material making an arrowhead. Now, yes, if you miss, it is lost forever, but that's why we become really good marksmen, so that we can just shoot the Venin with the special weapons, instead of having to wait for them to be within stabbing distance of you. These super powerful mages who can destroy an entire city with just 2 of them. You have to get within dagger stabbing distance. I will take the arrows. I don't care if we occasionally waste some of this resource. And if you've ever read books before, you can predict how this scene is going to go. Xaden is, of course, far too noble to let all those people die down there in the valley. So he's like, I'm gonna go, none of you have to follow me, but I'm going down there. And of course everybody's gonna be like, we'll follow you, man. We'll follow you to the jaws of death. Badass dragon riders that we are. Even though if we do somehow survive, which is unlikely, at least from what the Griffin lady is saying, we will be branded as traitors and probably killed then. So, yeah, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. We're riders, Imogen says as another explosion sounds. We defend the defenseless, that's what we do. Well, first of all, while you're making this decision, things are exploding. So the defenseless are already being killed while you're standing up here talking. But also, that is not what dragon riders do. From what I have seen, dragon riders kill each other. That is what dragon riders do. They sit around in fortresses and they kill each other. Is this what dragon rider culture is supposed to be? You expect these people who you have trained the entire time to always be on the lookout for ways to kill one another. Always be on the lookout for any sign of weakness from anybody else. And then you expect them to turn around and want to defend, like, ordinary people? You want them to defend the weak ones when you just spent 3 years of their training teaching them to cull the weak? Your system is stupid. It's stupid. And I mean, I'm sure it's going to turn out that you're evil, but you're evil and stupid, the worst combination. They've been smuggling weapons out for years. Presumably these very, very valuable weapons made of this rare resource. And I bet you we're never going to find out how they were doing that successfully for so long. And only now, thanks to one dumb girl and her jilted lover who can read her mind, do they suspect that something is going on. So after everybody rousingly says, we fight or die, or in this case, fight and die, we are dragon riders, rah rah, sis boom bah, they all are like getting ready to go down there, and Liam uses his elvish eyes once again to see that the Griffins have already engaged with the enemy and are being picked off, while the civilians do something, get away, hide, unclear, but the Griffin riders are trying to distract the Venin for the moment, and getting killed in the process. Because Griffins are squishy. So now we have the reason, the convoluted, dumbass reason why the book focused so much on hand-to-hand combat for the characters. It wasn't for a good reason. It was literally for the plot, so that when we get to the end, we find out that the only way to kill the venom is with the special daggers, because we couldn't be arsed to make any different weapons with the special metal. So you need to use the daggers, which means you are going to have to engage these super dangerous magic users in hand-to-hand combat.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
We have a touching, quote-unquote touching, I don't care about any of these people, moment with the baby dragon where she is like, you're gonna, because we're bonded, you'll feel me die, and when I die, you need to fly back home and tell everybody that venom are attacking. But of course, I expect that we will have a last-minute baby dragon power saves the day, because lest we forget, the baby dragon has time powers. We finally spot a wyvern setting some things on fire. Wyverns have blue fire, which the main character recognizes for some reason. No indication that you have to use a special weapon to kill the wyvern. Okay, it turns out, you remember that the general that we occasionally remember exists has the power to see the outcome of any battle. And I thought maybe he had to be in the battle, but apparently it's just any battle anywhere. Except, I guess, one of the features of Xaden's powers is that he can block out the general's sight of this specific battle, so the general can't... I would have just had it so the general had to be at the battle to see the outcome. Also, Xaden gives her an extra dagger, so now she has 2 venom-killing daggers. Also, there's very clearly something that the venom are trying to get from the outpost down in the valley, and the dragons can sense it. So we very recently had talk about how the only way to kill them is with the daggers. But she and her dragon fly in, and they see one of the venom blasting at civilians, and they breathe dragon fire all over him, and she's like, yeah, got him. And then she turns around and, oh, he's still there. And it's like, yeah. Were you not paying attention for the conversation that we just had like 2 pages ago where they talked about how the only thing that kills them is the dagger?
Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think with fly, think.
Now she's causing property damage and probably getting civilians killed because the wyvern comes back and her dragon has to dodge, and his tail takes out a chunk of the outpost's wall. And I assume it crushes several fleeing peasants below. Just in case you're wondering, everybody's color-coded. I can't resist color-coding in any of these books. The wyvern riders, they wear maroon. So some of the dragon riders went scouting instead of going straight to the city, and they found what appears to be a mine, and Violet goes to check out the mine while Xaden uses his shadow magic to try and cover the retreat of the peasants. So presumably now we think that the venom are looking for the mine and not something in the center of town, which they seem to be focusing on the center of town, but perhaps they are actually after the mine and they just think it's in the center of town. Oh, maybe we're evacuating the civilians to the mine. I guess that's a possibility as well. It seemed to me to imply that the mine was something that the venom were maybe looking for, but maybe we're just using it as an evacuation point. Okay, yes, the people are going into the mine, and now the main character is trying to distract the venom with her lightning, but of course her aim sucks. She is destroying a lot of the city with her lightning, though. I find it hilarious that she's probably killing numerous innocents as she tries to defend them. By the way, much like we needed to know that Imogen had pink hair, we also need to know that the venom have red eyes. That's super important. Their eyes are red, and that makes them really scary looking. They're real veiny, and they have red eyes. So the venom, when they channel, they create dead zones that are super, super deadly, apparently. So the one venom starts to channel, and she's drawing up, like, magic, I guess, from the earth, and around her, she creates this field of just death. Somebody we don't really care about has flown into it and just dropped dead immediately. Both the rider and the dragon. At one point during the fight, the main character gets the message that there's some explosive barrels. This is a video game now. Explosive barrels in one of the nearby warehouses, and it looks like she's going to need to explode them because the venom's going to get away. Unfortunately, the explosion did not kill the venom or her wyvern, even though the wyverns do seem a lot more susceptible to death. Like, they've already killed one. So you don't need special weapons for the wyvern, but apparently they are sturdy because the explosion didn't hurt it. A whole bunch more wyvern are moving in because they're just flying around without riders. She finally manages to hit one of the wyverns with a lightning bolt, and she's like, will this kill its rider? Because when a dragon dies, the rider dies, because stupid rules. But they're not sure if that's how wyverns work. I'm going to assume that you can't kill the venin by killing their wyverns, because that would be 2 ways to kill them. And that would be too easy, because the wyverns are too squishy. Alright, so there's a lot of battle going on, and we have got some dragon flying battle. It's a little bit difficult to follow because there's just so much. There's so many dragons, there's so many wyverns, there's griffin riders, there's civilians, we don't know the layout of this town. It's a lot. And so it's a little bit hard to follow, and I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow. But we have one more to make it 2 cool dragon riding moments from characters that aren't our main character, because she doesn't really do anything cool ever with her dragon riding, where Xaden is about to get attacked, and he makes a lasso out of shadows and loops his dragon, and like she pulls him into the air, and then he like zoop onto her back. Finally, one of the dragons does something that they should be doing this entire time. Instead of trying to blast with fire and use their magical abilities of their puny little human riders, her dragon's mate comes to his rescue and just like grabs a wyvern midair and like shreds it. And I'm like, yep, that's what we should be doing all along. Why aren't the other dragons doing this? Why aren't they just using their teeth and claws to kill the much smaller, much punier wyverns? This is reminding me a lot of like a dogfight in a space TV show or movie, where it's like, oh, you've got someone on your tail. I'm waiting for somebody to be like, Rogue Squadron, where's our cover? But at least we're getting a lot more dragon battle than I thought we would. There's only been a few cool moments so far, but hey, at least there's some dragon battle. Okay, all of these dragon riders are doing such cool bullshit, and I'm like, why do we not get to see her training to do this stuff? Why is it always hand-to-hand combat? Because finally we get another cool moment with Liam where he runs down his dragon's back, it whips his tail, and he like flies off and lands on the wyvern that's pursuing them so that he can like attack the guy in midair with his deck. Like, why are we not learning that in Dragon School? That was never even suggested until we started seeing other people doing it. Like, when they were at the beginning of the book, when they were like, you have to have, like, superb balance to ride a dragon, they should have led with this. They should have been like, you have to have superb balance because eventually you're going to be running and jumping from your dragon's back in midair and landing on a separate dragon or other being and fighting hand to hand on the back of that creature. Now that is where you need the balance. That was never mentioned, that was never in the brochure, and yet apparently at some point everybody's taught to do it because all these other people are doing this and she's just flying around using Call Lightning badly. Finally, our main character's dragon decides, oh yeah, I can also use my claws, and kills a wyvern. Oh, all of a sudden our main character has a disability again that we thought that she had just recovered from all on her own by strength training. But Liam gets knocked off of his dragon, lands on her dragon, she grabs him, and her shoulders dislocate. They have not done anything like that in any of the exercises that she's been doing in a very long time. But now, since we're in the heat of the pitched final battle, we gotta have something. Sorry, they don't dislocate, they subluxate, which I think is different, but I don't exactly know what it means, but I imagine it's not fun. Liam's dragon is now in trouble. There's a really big wyvern now that is attacking Liam's dragon, and Liam is just like on the main character's dragon, and she's just strapping him down. Will dear sweet Liam, too good for this cruel world, too pure, be killed for the pathos? I feel like maybe. Oh no, we have to make another perilous decision. So the main character calls out to her boyfriend like, hey, shit's getting real over here, can you come help? And he's like, I'm protecting civilians, if I come help you, they'll all be killed. So now we have to do, again, another one of these decisions about like, do I save the civilians or save my friend? How many of these can we have? So we get the tragic moment, Liam's dragon is falling, being killed, and he's like reaching out towards it, trying to touch it one last time, and all of our heartstrings are supposed to be being plucked, and it's like, that would be way more meaningful if we had spent more time building up the relationship that dragons and riders have. But we haven't. The author made a choice. The author chose to spend the bulk of this book on the building relationship between the main character and her hot enemy. And as a result, we don't know how deep and strong the rider-dragon bond is. We don't get to see it. We're told it exists, but we don't get to see it. There's never moments where she or her dragon are really in danger and the other one can like feel it or sense it. They never share any deep or meaningful moments together, just like as two beings, because all we cared about was the romance. And so while we're supposed to be weeping for poor Liam reaching for his dragon companion, the only example we have of a dragon-rider relationship is very, very shallow. And so it doesn't mean as much as it would if we had actually done the work. And that is something that we as authors have to understand. The choices that we make and what we focus on are going to affect our readers' experiences. And you have to understand that if you stay focused on the romance so deeply, you are going to lose the other relationships. Now, we're still sad about Liam because he's dying and she gets to say goodbye to him. And he was, at least, that relationship, her and Liam's relationship, did get enough focus where we know that they are friends. But the relationship between Liam and his dragon, what was it? We don't know. We don't know anything about what the dragon-rider relationship is like, because mostly her dragon just seems like her grumpy dad who can read her mind in the background. At least Liam gets, like, a cool tragic death scene. I am a sucker for a cool tragic death scene, so I will tell you that I don't hate this. I am not a big fan of like named characters that we love just like dying like off screen or just snuffed out in a moment. Like give me a tragic death scene. I will eat it up like candy. There aren't many tropes that I like in this book, but that's one that I enjoy. Of course, Liam does take a moment in his death scene to be like, oh, so stay with Xaden. He's a shipper. I'm running out of memory card. Let me see if I can finish this tragic death scene at top speed. Oh my god, I only have 4 minutes. Now they have all the time in the world, by the way, for this tragic death scene. Like, Xaden shows up at the last second, and he carries his buddy over to say goodbye to his dragon. It's all very sad and tragic, but, like, we were in the middle of a pitched battle. Where's that? What's going on with that? Alright, so I read that with lightning speed. 2 minutes left on my memory card. The wyverns are closing in. Xaden has put up a shield of shadows to try and block some line of sight, but she has to zap all of the wyverns with her call lightning. Will she be able to do it? We'll find out in the next thrilling chapter. I'll be right back.
I go to save the dragon! Who will go with me?
Universal Pictures presents a motion picture that will make you believe.
My memory card likes to do this thing where occasionally it resets, which is fine, but it like starts the numbering system over, so then it gets confusing when I'm like trying to sort out these videos later. So that's fun, but we're so close to the end, y'all. I've been reading for hours and I want to go ride my horse in a little bit, so let's see if I can crack this out. I'm also making myself food because at this point, fuck my lipstick, I'm just gonna eat before I go. Oh, and I guess something that I missed when I was speed reading is that she and Taryn, her dragon, are also under attack by one of the Venin who is using a sword to attack Taryn, which is an interesting choice for somebody who can wield really powerful magic, but okay. Gotta get this one close enough, probably. Why would the Venin ever get this close? Because the Venin is now, like, on Taryn's back and, like, stabbing. And it's like, that's great and ominous and dangerous, but they wield so much power that they don't need to get this close to a dragon and rider.
Also, we have established through Violet that stabbing dragon scales does nothing. She's been stabbed numerous times while wearing her dragon scale armor, and it has not been able to penetrate. So how is the Venin sword penetrating the dragon's scales? Really unclear. Like, if the Venin has some kind of special sword, or maybe a dragon's scales are weaker on its back, we need to know that as readers to understand this scene. Remember this when you're writing fantasy, if you're going to do shit like this. You should not contradict the things that you yourself have put into the book, unless you give it a good reason.
I don't know why Taryn doesn't just flip upside down, because, like, I don't know how this Venin lady's going to hold on to him while they're upside down. Yeah, Star Wars reference? There may have been actually a couple in here, but I just kind of dismissed them. But the Venin gets to her and says, "Aren't you a little small for a dragon rider?"
short for a stormtrooper?
Finally, our main character, realizing that everybody else is doing it, remembers that she too could stand up on her dragon. So she unbuckles herself and she stands up, and I don't know why Taryn couldn't then use his magic to just hold her feet on. Like, could that not work? I don't know. I don't know the rules. But she is now going to hand-to-hand combat on dragon back, which I guess is indeed a thing that I did not think about when I was thinking about dragon combat earlier in the book. The reason I didn't think about it is because it's dumb. Like, admittedly, action movie idiocy levels of fun to envision. You're on a dragon and you wield magic, and yet all of it comes down to hand-to-hand combat while you're both standing on a dragon. She's reminded of the parapet, which once again, I think we really should have led with this. When they're crossing the parapet, instead of like, well, you need it to balance while riding a dragon, they should have been like, well, you need it because you're going to be engaging in hand-to-hand combat while standing on the back of a dragon in midair. So she's already broken her arm. One paragraph into this fight, so all that hand-to-hand combat didn't actually come in that useful, and lost one of the 2 daggers that Xaden gave her. Has accidentally made a humorous mental image. So this bitch, this Venin lady, is fighting her wearing just a robe that's like billowing out. So I'm just picturing it like flap, 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 flap in the wind. Not very menacing, actually. We do get a little bit of an excuse as she's fighting this lady. This woman is like unnaturally fast and skilled, so that's why she's kicking so much ass. No, you have the power of lightning, sweetie. Lightning. So she's losing, and she's already been stabbed with a poison dagger and her arm is broken, so she's super duper losing. But then Xaden throws a shadow over them, and she thinks, and I have the power of light. Lightning. Legally distinct. Now that she is in shadow, she maneuvers into the right position. The Venin just stands there and lets her do that. And then she flashes lightning so she can see what she's doing just for a split second and stabs the Venin in the back. Okay, this is a little bit confusing, and once again, it's super important that you remember where your characters are in relation to each other in a fight scene. It specifically says that the woman's back is to her when she plunges the dagger into her. And then it says that the Venin staggers backward, her face turning ashen gray. But if she staggered backward, she would stagger into the main character who is behind her. It seems like we've swapped, and suddenly the main character is in front of her again, so we can like look her in the face as she falls from the dragon. Like, stuff you gotta pay attention to. And if you miss it, hopefully your beta reader or, hey, your developmental editor, hi, that's me, will catch it for you. No, oh, we're trying to come full circle now? We're trying to come full circle now. We are almost done with this book. And she's like, I'm too injured to fight anymore. My best weapon is my mind, which would be so much more meaningful if you also weren't, like, really good at fight. Now you're just good at everything. She's just good at everything now. The only reason that she was losing that fight is because the Venin is, like, so much more powerful and just magically juiced up. If it had been a normal person, she certainly would have won that fight. But now she's like, I have to use my wits, and I'm like, I really wish that you'd been using those the whole time. Instead of as soon as you got powerful, you stopped using your wits, and now it's just, you're super powerful and the smartest one. Like, couldn't we have you use your wits the whole time? Couldn't you have been using your wits before now? I would have loved it if she would have been the one coming up with a strategy for any of these scenarios. If she would have been the one that they looked to at this point. Again, if we had chosen different things to focus on in this book, she could have gotten to the point with these people that they were looking to her for a plan. But she killed a Venin, and she looks up and notices that the wyverns follow video game rules where if you kill the leader, the rest of them die. So she killed this one, and all of the wyverns that this person, like, created, reanimated, it's unclear, are now just falling out of the sky. That's her being very smart, by the way. That's her using her wits now. We're using her big brain thoughts at this point. She tells everyone that they have to focus on the riders. Taryn is like, excellent idea. And then, you're willing to gamble your life on it? If I'm wrong, we're both dead, and so is Aiden and Scale. Scale? I don't know. But it's like, you just killed one of them, and now wyverns are literally falling from the sky. Use your big brain. I think you're right. I think that you did that. Unless you believe that the two things are completely unrelated for some reason. So they've got all of the Venin killed except for the last one, who's like seems to be the leader, and he's got a staff, which makes him special. But he can teleport, so like they're closing in on him, and one of the guys throws a dagger, which, hey, we remember that we can throw things. At the very least, if we're not using archery, we can throw things. But he blinks out of sight, and now they don't know where he is. So our main character has just come up with a brilliant plan. Xaden is holding a bunch of wyverns back with his shadows, and she's like, I need you to drop the shadows. And he's like, oh, I can't do that. And she's like, you have to trust me, you know, one of those tense moments. Almost everything in this climactic battle scene is post-consumer product, and much of the scenes before it as well. The only cool claim to fame that this book has is the running and jumping and fighting hand-to-hand on Dragonback, which is extremely silly, but it's different. At least it's different. So it turns out, like, as the main character was fighting with the previous person she was fighting with, that person did the typical bad guy thing of being like, you're so powerful, you have no idea how powerful you can be. And now the main character's like, oh, she said I was powerful, so I'm actually gonna use all my power. I was just using some of my power, but now I'm gonna use all of it.
Now learn. Learn what happens when you mess with the most powerful being in the universe!
We have to have the danger of her burning out because we have to have her, like, almost dying. So now she's flying straight at the final Venin who appeared on a wyvern. She's flying straight towards him. She's ready to unleash all of her power. She's like this close to burning out. And then the little baby dragon is like, I can lend you some of my power. And she's like, okay, just lend me a little bit more. And oh my goodness, I'm sure this is exciting for somebody. Baby dragon stops time, and she gets right up on the Venin and stabs him with her dagger. I thought she was going to have to use a lot of lightning, but she was using lightning in the process of this, but I thought it was going to be like a really big lightning strike. Oh my god, this is so dumb. So I can't tell if this is the same Venin or if this is a different Venin. But when she kills her one, a bunch of wyverns fall from the sky, but I guess there's one more. But Xaden just kills that one, and she says she's like actively dying right now, but she takes a moment to be like, damn, sometimes I forget just how beautifully lethal he is.
What is wrong with you?
And she falls from her dragon. Oh no, not Violet.
Help. Police. Murder.
And that's the end of that chapter. I'm gonna go check on my food, and I think we only have 2 chapters left, and I think they're both pretty short, so we'll be done with this friggin' thing. This book has been my life for way too long.
Well, hello, it's Admiral Julian. I may not have any sponsors, but that doesn't mean I don't still have stuff to talk to you about. You see, I am my own sponsor. Have you written a book, and are you worried that perhaps you've contradicted key elements, like, for example, having dragon scale armor that can't be stabbed through, but then having somebody stab a dragon through their scales? Now, sometimes as an author, there's a lot of details to juggle and a lot of stuff to remember, and you just need someone else's eyes on your project. And I could be that set of eyes. I'm a developmental editor, and you can hire me on Fiverr. Contact me to find out my availability and all of the different packages I offer, or if you just have questions. And now I will let you get back to the climax of this very, very silly dragon book.
All right, here we go. You ready, Nigel? You strapped in? He's been here the whole time. You just can't see him sleeping beside me. Chapter 39. You're all cowards. The last words of Fen Ryerson, redacted. All right, we're in Xaden's point of view. What do you think are the odds that we're going to feel like we are in a totally different person's point of view? Because I suspect that it will feel exactly like we are in her point of view, except for, obviously, different pronouns. We get a reminder that our main character has special girl hair. He is sitting in an armchair by her bedside. We don't know where yet, but he's describing how, like, pathetic she looks, and the ends of her hair duller than their usual blade-like hue. Why does she have silver hair? It's so dumb. All this is him sitting at her bedside, feeling very sorry for himself and thinking about how amazing and beautiful and special she is and how much he just loves her so much. So after about 3 pages of him just thinking about how much he loves her and thinking about all the ways that he fell in love with her, I hope whoever is swooning over this is truly enjoying it and their heart feels fulfilled. Because, you know, it is wish fulfillment to think about, oh, the guy that I am interested in, he's thinking about all the million times that he fell in love with me in a million tiny ways. Now he's thinking about the fall of the Roman Empire. But Violet finally wakes up and, oh, look at that! Her poisoned injury is just like all healed now. They're kissing, they're tongue kissing. If you want to know, that is again being very thoroughly described. Like, this is supposed to be a sweet, tender moment, and we're describing a tongue kiss. And I'm like, So she has some lingering memory issues from the poison for some reason, but she does remember that she was mad at Xaden. They go to the window and they are in a city that was like rebuilt. I think this was like a city that used to belong to like the rebel faction or something. I don't know, they rebuilt it.
We were always told there was nothing left of 13.
Capital bomb has surfaced to rubble. But we're military, so we learn to survive down here.
His internal monologue, his internal voice is exactly the same as hers. He's also doing the one-word sentence thing. Brilliant fucking woman. Spoke over already. Like, come on, I'm so done. I'm so done. I'm so tired of this book. So she kicks him out of the room so she can get dressed and bathe, and I guess this is like his family's like estate or whatever, rebuilt in this top secret rebel town. I now have tater tots and cheese to dip my tater tots.
And vultures.
They're just like hiding out in the living room silently, listening to me long for death.
I mean, that's not why I'm down here, but yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm just so done with this. Can it just end?
I mean, I'm gonna rip out the last 2 pages and be like, oh look, I got to the end.
Oh, I kind of forgot that the Venom were like searching for something, but I guess it's a box. And they're trying to figure out why the Venom wanted it.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
Apparently, Bodhi has always lifted Xaden's mood. He never struck me as a real jokester, but I guess maybe that's his personality this whole time. Giorgio, don't do it. Jumping up there would be a very bad choice. So he goes back to Violet's room after she's all changed and everything, and her wet hair gives him an immediate boner. Like, this man cannot handle himself. Neither of them can. They see each other and they immediately are like the horniest people alive. So he asks her if she's in. Those are his exact words. Are you in for this new rebellion that they're clearly working on? But of course she's like, but I still don't trust you with my heart because you didn't tell me the full truth that one time. And that means that you didn't actually love me. Man, this guy probably has a visible boner right now. We're on the last page, everyone. The last page. Freedom, sweet freedom, only moments away. Oh, we get a last minute shocker. Last minute twisty twist that I didn't see coming because it wasn't foreshadowed at all. Her brother, Brennan, not actually dead. He's the one who healed her, and he's part of the rebellion. Whoa! And then he says, welcome to the revolution, Violet. Thanks, buddy. And I'm done with this book. Although there are acknowledgments, which I will skim through. There's a page of acknowledgments. No. Thank you to my Heavenly Father for blessing me beyond my wildest dreams. This lady's a Christian. Only some Christians call God Heavenly Father in that way. And I'm like,
So the group I was trying to think of is Mormons. She is a Mormon, was a Mormon. I'm finding sort of conflicting in my quick search here. I believe she was definitely raised Mormon, and she might not identify as a Mormon anymore. Do with that information what you will. I'm sure there are elements that you can find in this book if you were looking for them. Obviously, when I was reading through this book, I was not looking for them. I did not know that she was Mormon, so yes, do with that information what you will. I don't really have anything else to add.
Moving on from that, not expecting that. She has 6 children. Okay, the pieces are falling together. Do you think I'll ever make it to anyone's acknowledgement page? Because like a lot of times they thank their editors and stuff, and she's thanking basically everybody. Do you think maybe someday I'll make it to an acknowledgement page? That'd be neat. And thank you to Julian, who I promised to never ever ever be like, and that has pushed me onward as an author. It's the dream. Apparently she's thanking everyone she's ever met in her life, though. My goodness. I am not going to read the excerpt from The Starbringer by Tracy Wolff. Woof, okay, that was Fourth Wing. Let's look at our bingo card. I'm just ready to be done. I want to go ride my horse. I'm so done with this book today. Spaces we did not get. Why is it always the dumb bitches? The blurb lied, which I am a little bit tempted to maybe give it the blurb lied because the blurb indicated that she was going to be using her smarts to get out of all of these situations, and once she figured out that she was very, very powerful, the outsmarting things pretty much stopped. As soon as a book promises me that the main female lead is going to have to use her wits to get out of situations, I know that she's going to be dumb as a box of rocks. Everyone praises the main character, didn't quite get there. Main character behaving badly without fallout, that would be impossible because everybody's behaving badly without fallout. Girl hate, didn't have any of that, that was nice. We did not have fat equals evil because there were no fat people, again. So one of the ways that books are escaping that trope is by just ignoring that fat people exist altogether. So I don't think that's better, actually, but... We didn't have awkward sex scene. We did have some sex scenes, but I didn't think they were awkwardly written. They were pretty bland, I'll be honest, but they didn't make me, like, laugh. So, surprise baddie reveal, damaging essay tropes. There was, like, no essay in this book, and I am 100% okay with that. I will say one thing for this book. This book fully proves that you can endanger your female lead character without it being sexual at all. And... like, I didn't even notice the lack of this sexual component to any of the threats to her. Like, didn't miss it, didn't need it. So, authors, writers, everyone out there who's thinking that the only and best way to threaten your female lead is to threaten them or actually sexually assault them, you're wrong. It can be done. Yes, this book wasn't good, but the fact that it lacked sexual assault is not one of the reasons that it wasn't good. In fact, that is a point in its favor. And injuries don't matter. The injuries did stick around for a while. They never really mattered all that much, but I tend to use injuries don't matter for those cases where a character will get injured and then by the next scene we have forgotten, or a character will get injured and then continue to fight at the same capacity that they were fighting before they were injured. That's what I mean by injuries don't matter. So, but we did get at least one bingo. Yes, we got one bingo, which was, do you think your reader is dumb? Horrifying implications. We had to use the free space, horny and confusing world building, or no world building in sight. So that's the only bingo that we got. Here's our finished bingo card. Does anybody play Bad Book Bingo with me? I don't know. I did not think it would take me this long to finish this damn book. I knew it was going to be romantasy. I knew that going in, but I still did not expect the sheer levels of how much we were focused on the romance. And that makes me disappointed, as we've already talked about, because it is being touted as accessible fantasy, and it dismays me to learn that the way that we think that we can make fantasy accessible is to just make it all about the romance and have fantasy as like a set dressing on the side. We finally got a dragon battle at the end. The end of a book that has dragons on the cover. Alright, I gotta finish this up, and my final thoughts. You guys know my thoughts. You were here. You're here for this entire read-along. If you would like some books that I feel are very accessible fantasy but do not use romance as a crutch, check out my books. Share your own opinions. Feel free to do a whole read-along tearing them apart if you want to, because they don't focus on romance.
Okay, so filming Julian was absolutely exhausted from this book and did not want to talk about it anymore, but some time has gone by and now I am editing Julian, here to share with you my thoughts about how I would have fixed Fourth Wing, quote-unquote, written Fourth Wing. Let's say that we didn't want it to be a romantasy. Like, what could we do? Or we wanted it to be a fantasy that included some romance but wasn't just like all romance all the time. Let's say we wanted to write a dragon book. What would I do? Now, I personally think that this book is beyond quote-unquote fixing, because it's very clear what the author wanted, and the author did what she wanted. That was horny romance with a very light backdrop of dragon school with really dumb rules. She was not interested in the world building. Let's not even pretend she was interested in the world building. The first thing I would do to fix this book is have a author who has written fantasy before write it. That would be step one. And then after that, the easiest thing to do would be to have Violet actually want to be a dragon rider from the start, but because of her disability, she is considered too small, too weak. Everybody tells her that she can't do it, including her own father, who she loves very much, but who is like, no, you're going to be a scribe like me. Violet's mother could be very removed and still very cold, but in a slightly different way. Like, she just doesn't relate to Violet. She doesn't understand Violet because her other 2 children are dragon riders like her, and Violet is not that. So how do you relate to this kid? I don't know. But anyway, things happen and Violet manages to get into the dragon school. However she does that. Maybe she sneaks in, maybe she gets in completely legally. Like, she shows up at the parapet, she crosses it, and that means she's allowed to go to dragon school. Her mother is upset, her father is dead, her sister is supportive. I don't know, let's keep that the same. She can meet a hot boy there who is maybe one of the rebel kids, or maybe there really was no rebellion, maybe the rebellion is coming later, or potentially you could have Violet be one of the rebel kids, but that does make things a little bit more complicated, and we're doing the easiest possible, like, solution here. So anyway, Violet goes to this dragon school, which is not stupid. The whole point of the dragon school is not to kill off all of the students. In fact, the point is to come out of this with more dragon riders. I know. Wild. So she goes to classes, she learns about things. Now, this is going to be controversial, but I say we double down on the stupid fighting on Dragonback. Okay? Like, that was this book's only original thought, and it's insane, but I kind of love how insane it is. So we put that right on the tin. That's at the beginning of the book. They start doing classes to not only ride dragons, so like initially they're going to start out with like the mechanical bow. You know, they're not just going to pit classes where they sit around and have stuff talked at them. They're doing active training that's not just hand-to-hand combat, obviously. So they're riding the mechanical bull dragon, and then after a while they get to the point where they're learning to fight hand-to-hand combat on a moving surface, because they know that eventually they're going to have to fight hand-to-hand on their dragons. Now, I would add a little world-building aspect here where a dragon, when a human is riding it, cannot do, for some reason, the obvious things like flipping over to dump off the enemy. So we'll make the dragons a bit smaller, and balance will be a factor for the dragon as well. If you're riding a horse, the rider's balance is key to success. If you, as the rider, if your balance is off, you're going to throw off what the horse is doing, and vice versa. So let's say if a rider is on the dragon's back and they're standing up and moving, or especially if there's 2 people on the dragon's back, the dragon cannot flip over without like falling from the sky. So that's why the dragons don't do anything to like knock off the enemy rider. Also, we're going to include bows. Bows have been invented. We use bow and arrows. Oh my god. In my version, Violet does not get 2 dragons, and she also thinks a lot more about like what her goals are in general at the dragon school. So she maybe has a dragon picked out that she's really looking forward to, that she really wants to impress, and maybe she does all of this stuff to try and impress the dragon, and then she goes out there and the dragon she wants isn't interested in her. Crestfallen, she tries a few more dragons and none of them are interested until she finds a dragon that is smaller than everyone, and no one is interested in that dragon. Everybody is passing up this little dragon. But she's like, okay, I'll give it a try. A small dragon is better than no dragon, and besides, I find this one relatable. Maybe this dragon has like a torn wing or a broken horn or some scars, something that shows that it's been through like some trauma. It's bullied. It's a bullied dragon. But of course, they bond. This one wants to be her dragon, and when she bonds with it, she finds out that it's actually a really cool, like, personality. Like, she really meshes with this dragon. They go together well, and so together, they learn how to compensate for their disabilities and fight just as well as anybody else. And maybe because this dragon is smaller, it's more agile, like we're always hearing about how Violet is, even though that doesn't necessarily make sense. Just because you're small doesn't mean you're automatically agile. But Violet and her new dragon are still underestimated. However, because she was going to scribe school for a while, Violet is very tactically thoughtful. And so she thrives in the classes about battle tactics, and we see her do it. And eventually, her squad starts to look to her for plans and schemes, because Violet has always got something up her sleeve. Violet always seems to know how the squad should fly for the best success. And perhaps this success is catching the eye of the cute broody boy. Like, that can be a background thing. She can still be attracted to and attractive to the hot boy. It just doesn't need to be the main focus of the story. Also, her dragon and the hot boy's dragon are not mates. They have nothing to do with each other, and there's no dumb, horny dragon scene. Also, she has a best friend from when she was growing up. His name is Dane, and he's a nice man. Maybe Dane could be a little bit suspicious of Xaden because Xaden is a rebel kid, and Violet and Dane could have some conflicts over that, where Violet is like, I don't think he's so bad, and Dane could be like, I don't trust him, and that could be like a little conflict that they can have as friends, but it doesn't need to be this weird possessive fighting over her that the guys do. Also, I feel like I would just make the threat the Venin from the beginning. None of this whole, the Griffins are our enemy. Oh no, never mind, it's the Venin. Just make the Venin the threat from the beginning. The Venin are scary, the Venin have big powerful magic. What the fuck were the Griffins even doing? What was the point of the Griffins? So there's no Griffin riders, it's the Venin and their weird wyverns who maybe, ooh, I like this idea. The wyverns are actually dead dragons that have been resurrected and like mutilated by the Venin. And so it's like horrifying and scary, and the Venin are super powerful magically. Now, maybe Violet could still get some cool battle magic, like maybe we don't have to do lightning, but we still could if we focus on all of the other stuff, not making her the most special person in the world. Then if she gets cool special magic lightning, it's not quite as like obnoxious as if she gets that after she's also been special in a million other ways. Maybe she could even be frustrated by it, because this is a front lines power, and she has been focusing on being more of the tactician of the group. She doesn't belong in the front lines, and she's okay with that. She wants to oversee the battles. She wants to plot them and plan them. And then she gets a front line power? Rude. But eventually, they have to go and fight some Venin, and they can have a cool battle, but the battle can make sense because we've already seen them doing all of these tactics that we see in the final battle in previous either war games or smaller skirmishes or whatever. And like, there's so much potential here for a really cool story at a dragon school, but it doesn't need to be a horny romance. So yes, please comment below and let me know what your thoughts are for what you would do with this story. I know I already have one viewer who has been kind of writing fan fiction as we go. We live for it. We love to see it. But yes, let me know what you would do with this story, or if you like my version. And now I will send you back to past Julian, who will close us out. Oh, and also everybody would have dragon saddles. Obviously. And I'm gonna get out of here because I need to finish eating, and then I'm gonna go ride my pony and forget all about this book. Feel free to leave your comments below on your thoughts about this book, and if you feel like there's anything that I missed talking about, comment below and let me know. But that's it for me now. Julian out.
You are the most important, most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe.
Well, I think my patrons are pretty important. Patrons like July, Bird Anonymous, Sunny Shy, Nico, Saga, Sarah M, Kat, 78 kilograms of shade, Veda, Ingrid, Roma, Pantsing Pony, Julius the Nice Dragon, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaro, Mooney, Maria, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, KJ, Lafone, Amanda, Celia, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Marine, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, The Unraveled Legion, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah H. Listen, I think that they're some of the coolest people in the universe.